Hello. So I have been feeling as if I'm supposed to start kind of being more open about myself and my story, as I really feel like this is going to be a healing process for a lot of people. Um, I have been on a healing journey for quite a while. I will say that there were times in my life really didn't even know I was supposed to be healing something. um, And I don't even think I really had this real understanding of the trauma that I went through as a child or teenager, or some even things in my adulthood. And so I've had to really come to this conclusion and dig really deep into myself, where I had to face the truth of myself, of my trauma, how it's showing up in the world. And I've always kind of been this person where I like to give and do and help. And so I kind of really focused a lot on outward things instead of like inward. And then when I would go inward, it was all negative. It was all about how bad I was, or punishing myself for something that I did wrong, or trying to strive to be this perfect, better person. And I found myself really struggling with being able to show up daily and not walk in my triggers, which I didn't even know I was doing, to be honest. Like, I had no idea that I even had triggers for a long time. And I think that's what a lot of people are in the world, just living their lives the best they possibly can, not even realizing that sometimes like how they're reacting or how they're showing up in the world actually are trauma responses. And for myself, I'll share at some point a little bit more of my own personal story, but I went into religion when I was 16, really kind of seeking love, I think. And from there until probably age 36, if I can remember right, I was really focused on trying to be pleasing. And this is not a diss or negative. I'm trying not to be negative towards anybody. But the programming of the church, and I was in a lot of them, um, really took me into a space of never feeling enough, never feeling like I was going to be okay within myself or in the world. And the hard thing was, I always felt there was something else inside of me that wanted to come out. And I didn't know how to get there. I didn't know how to get that person, because I always had this shame upon me, or this belief that I was never going to be good enough. And I always had to perform or be somebody that um, God wanted, or the church wanted, or show up in certain ways. And I really dedicated a lot of time to that. I I mean, I went to a Christian college. I read my Bible like every day. I could quote you verses. I mean, and not that any of that is bad or negative. I think that was a journey I was supposed to take to get to this point. But I have come into an awakening, which happened in 2016 for me. And many events happened after that where it kind of shoved me into healing. And prior to that, I think I had attempted healing in my life, but I never really dug into my healing like I have in the last 6, 7 years. And especially in the last probably I would say about 4 years. Like really getting honest with myself and my story. I had to do a lot of work around and I'm still doing this, around my beliefs towards God, towards spirituality, towards, just what I really believe. And I lost my dad September 2020, and it was a very, very, very hard time for me. I actually had been fired from my job 5 days before he passed, and that was very traumatic for me as I kind of felt betrayed, and I kind of felt as if um, the people I was trying to rely on to support me in my work setting didn't believe what I was going through, didn't believe my dad was sick, didn't believe these things. And then, of course, 5 days later, he leaves the earth, and I was with him, and it was very traumatic for me. Then within a week after that, I was doing foster care, and I just really felt I was a mess. And I think it probably, when you're emotional and when sorry, I'm kind of getting emotional with this. When you're having a lot of turmoil in your life, it can kind of spread to other people without even realizing it. And because I'm learning that we are very energetic beings. So we put energy out towards other people and we don't even know it. Like, so when I'm in my grief and my suffering, that energy is being kind of polarized out into the world around me. And I had my foster daughter at the time, and I adored her. I was thinking about adopting her, and she was older, around 17, 18, and she just lost it. She, kind of destroyed my house and threw things at me and told me she hated me, and then she wanted to leave. And that was within a week, a few days after my dad's memorial service. And so that was three major losses at once. And I was devastated. In the middle of that, we're in COVID. COVID just started months prior to all this. And so we were trying to navigate how to do life in this world, this new world that has happened. So I was just devastated. And that day that she left, I took off to Colorado and I went hiking by myself in the mountains, which was very healing for me. But I think it gave me a moment of pause to kind of even numb a little bit. Like, I really just kind of used it as a numbing device. But I've also been able to learn that nature and hiking and things like that has been really healing for me. So I engage in it all the time now, because I know I have to keep myself grounded and healthy mentally and physically both. But I think I bring that up because it was my rock bottom. It really was. It was the most devastating time in my adult life. I had, because of COVID, I didn't have any friends I could talk to. I was by myself all the time. And so I really was forced to go inward to find a source of healing. And because I was really struggling with my faith and like with God, and like I didn't know where my dad was and all this stuff. But prior to that, I've been like, oh, he's in heaven and there's a heaven, and I had to really work through that. I had to work through, what do I believe now? How do I believe it? And so my journey really has been hard, but one thing that I have really come to understand is, I do not believe the Bible is without flaw. I'm just going to say that. It's written by humans. It is flawed, and there are things in it that were added that were not supposed to be added. There are things that are true. But I have found in my journey of moving away from religion and kind of really getting in tune with my own spiritual self and to the true God, to the true love energy, that some of the stuff in there is really good. And I think some of the teachings are really, spot on and truth. And so I've had to use some of that to help me in my healing, but it took a while to get there. I will say that, because I really, for a while, was like, ban the Bible, I don't want it. But now I'm really getting, I'm more open to it at this point. But there's a verse in there that talks about a man looks in a mirror and then he turns away and forgets what he looks like. And I think that has been one of the things that has been most healing for me, is to actually look in the mirror and see myself, to see how I show up in the world, how I respond to things, what my triggers are, what areas I need to heal, and actually face them instead of turning around and ignoring it and going outward and looking at everybody else, looking at how somebody else might be treating me, or how I didn't get this, or I want this, or whatever it is. Like, I had to stop, look at myself, and start to work to decrease my ego. That is when my healing started. And so I just want to share that to help encourage people. And I'm going to do some more videos about how that process has looked for me, but I will say the first step is really looking in the mirror, and it's not easy. But once you start looking, you don't want to stop, because you know that healing is on the other side, and healing feels really good once you start the process. It's a little intimidating at first, but you'll get there. So I just wanted to make this short video for you this morning. Hopefully this helps somebody to push forward. And my name's Angie, and I do spiritual mentoring and life coaching for helping people on their healing journey. So if you want to reach out and talk about any of this, please do. I'm open for that. But I wish you the best day ever. Namaste.